So, welcome. I want to call this one the Holy Reset of Christianity. And I think I'll cover two topics in one. One has to do with a lot of times we as believers want to, we're afraid to admit that we were lied to, we were deceived, or we missed it. A lot of times our egos want to hold on to I could never miss it. I know I heard God. Well, are you telling me I didn't hear God? And then we get this thing and our ego tries to rise up, and I realize that ego is such a sneaky criminal. And if we admit that we are wrong, and I started saying and telling people, why don't you just leave the word God out of your conversation? Don't leave him out of your life. Just leave him out of your conversation, and you'll realize that instead of saying, I don't know why God led me there and I fell apart and got fired, you would say, yeah, man, I went there. Man, I was probably a bonehead, skipped out, didn't show up to work on time, and then I got fired. I think I deserved it. Our conversations would sound very different, totally different. So I think that's the beauty, is just starting to admit when we missed it or we were wrong or where ego tried to rule our life. It's easier to just take the humble route and say, hey, I think I just might have missed it. Maybe I didn't hear the Lord as clearly as I thought, or maybe I did, and maybe it was all a test. But either way, I'm here, and I'm going to try again, and I'm going to try again, and I'm not going to stop at my failures. So the reset that I'm talking about is that when everything fell apart, when nothing in your life's working out, back in the day when we used to play Nintendo and all those other games, there was always a reset button. You hit it and you're starting from scratch. And sometimes when things aren't working out, sometimes it's good to just, reset, let's try it again. Instead of trying to keep going with old baggage, with old news, with old belief systems, with old struggles. Sometimes it's easier, hey, can we just reset and try again? It'll be a lot smoother to do things with a clear or clean perspective. The way I reset in my heart was I just came to the Lord and I said, you know what, God, I'm done. I don't want to keep going this way that I've been going. I don't like where I'm going. I don't like what's happening to me and the way I've become, and I need you to help me. And as I was just talking to God and just sharing my heart, He really helped me see that, your heart got hard and you start getting mad because things don't work out your way and things start falling apart, and that's just part of life sometimes. Eventually it's like, hey, we lost millions of dollars and this didn't work out and that fell apart, and you're like, it's part of life. You won't even blink. You'll just be so accustomed to it. But I feel like when we're quote unquote Christians, we feel like we should never have any bad thing happen. Everything should always be good, and we're never going to make mistakes. But we might make mistakes and things might not always go that well, but we're going to have to try again. So I'm going to try again and again and again, and that's kind of resetting and going to the Lord. And I said, hey, can we just start from scratch and be friends instead of you owe me and I owe you? And we're constantly going to God with everything He owes us or everything we owe Him. We're always making it so complicated when I'm realizing it's a lot easier than I assumed.
But it sounds like what you have is trust.
Yeah, well,
most people be like, how do you not freak out when you lose all your money?
The word trust, faith, all that stuff, it's because you know Him. And what I'm doing is saying, hey, I know that you're good, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't understand it, but I'm willing to try again and just start from scratch. And I'm willing to throw away every prophetic word, because everyone keeps telling me all these prophetic words, and sometimes they contradict, or we don't understand them, or whatever, timelines are off. But in the end, you know what we can do? We can go to the Lord and be like, hey, you know what? How about we put all that to the side and just love you today and try again and take steps? And once we do, He tells me all my word is still true and all my promises are still yes and amen. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't care. I'm not living for the promises. I'm living to be your friend. I'm living to know you. I'm living.
And even for me, it's I'm like, I thought it was this way and I expect it that way and I assumed this way. So You know what? I'm going to humble myself and be like, I'm just going to trust you and love you. And whatever that may be and however that looks, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to bring it about. But even if you don't, I don't care. I'm not changing.
Yeah. You're not doing it for what can work out for you. Sometimes we think if you're a Christian, everything will always work out for you.
The way you think.
Yeah. Or everyone will hurt you, stab you, take advantage of you, try to break you. And in the end, you realize they can't. You're already his. You're solid. And you're loving people who are most broken and most hurting in those places. And I always knew the Lord would always bring people in my life that he knew I'd be able to help and love. And I'm like, God, I'm doing my best to help these people, to love these people, but they just keep hurting me. And he's like, well, I know you can take it. And I know a lot of people run away from bad situations, from, instead of just being the light. Like, God, put me in a job where I have only Christians working with me. It's like, what? I want to hang out with all genders, all 52 of them. I want to hang out with all kinds of people and love everybody where they're at and be the light and be a friend to them, because I know what I have in me is going to be helping them. And I'm sure there's a lot of good in them, and I have to be able to see it before they even see it,
And it's trusting that Romans 8, I believe all things are going to work together for those who love him. Well, it's like, this didn't work out. This isn't, is it done? Is it over? Is this really the end? Is there an end? Like, let's bring our mind up to a higher place with him and just trust and just keep walking and have a heck of a fun time doing it, or else we're missing it.
Yeah. It's part of it. Part of it's enjoying it. And trust me, you'll enjoy life a little bit more when you have money than when you don't. You'll be more ticked off when it's like, hey, when there's no money, trust me, it puts a strain on the marriage. It puts a strain on your life, your health.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to, but I'm learning to not let it. But I know your life can be totally different. And part of it's changing the way you think. You are the variable in your life. If you don't change the way you think, no one else would change around you so that you could stay the same. It's I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
I'm asking
the
him
great
to
prophet
change his
Michael
ways.
used to say that. If you don't start changing your ways and you don't start looking at yourself as the one that needs to change and make that change, nothing will change. You are the world. You are the eternity. You have to be the one who changes. And if it's hard for you to change, you put yourself around people who do see that change and that goodness in you, and they'll call it out and they'll encourage you to take steps and actions and make those directions.
All from the inside out.
Yeah, everything you need is already in you, and you're the one who gets to. You don't have to, and that's kind of the beauty of life, is you get to enjoy it, and it's not as complicated. It's not end of the world. It's not rapture. There's none of those mindsets that are scaring you or hindering you. You literally delight in him every day, and you love everybody around you, and you're doing your best. And I know that, sometimes it's not always saying the name Jesus, or sometimes it's not always giving them $1 or buying them a meal, but if your love is your motive, you'll always do the right thing. You'll always say the right thing, act the right way, because the love of God, it compels us, it gives us. And Jesus mentioned, they'll know you are Christians by your love. Not by you saying you love them, not by preaching them turn or burn, but it's literally showing them Christ in unique ways. And it's always asking God, how do you want me to show them love? When my mom asked that of some lady who was mad at her and didn't like her, one neighbor lady who was just a hurting lady, my mom just was looking for a way to love her, and she kept praying, like, God, how do I love her? And then that lady fell in the ice and busted her hip and couldn't walk for a few weeks. And my older brother would run to the store, pick up some milk and some bread and whatever, and just deliver it to her every day and just help her out. And she realized that that's love. All my friends didn't help me. No one helped me, but a Christian did. And she's all like, I want to go to your church, and I want to be on the front row lifting my hands in a Pentecostal church where they really didn't even do that then. And she was just so in love with Jesus and saw and encountered God. And that's the beauty when you're not trying to overthink it or complicate it, but you always try to find, how can I love this person? So anyway, people, we love you. It's okay to reset if you're in a place that you don't like to. Just go to the Lord and say, hey, let's try this again. And then take another step. Take that fresh step, brand new. Don't try to repeat the same patterns or the same habits. Try to take that new step. Try to find new friends or something new, but you don't have to be stuck and be where you are, because you're the variable. You get to change. And I think that's very empowering. So we love you guys. Have an amazing summer. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to have a blast. We're going to go see the world this year. Gonna make millions of dollars, make fun times, make babies. Gonna have a blessing. Our life is gonna be pretty amazing, so stay tuned for the journey.